Welcome to lesson 1.3 on variables and comments. In this lesson, we will learn how variables work in Python and other programming languages. Okay, so lesson 1.3, jump down here, I'll share my screen. Here we go. So the objective is that students will be capable of assigning values to variables. Pretty straightforward. It's a fundamental part of programming any language. So chapter 2 of Think Python talked about variables, expressions, and statements. And variables, we've seen these in the past in good old-fashioned algebra, right? We saw 2x plus y equals 13, and we know that x holds some value and y holds some other value. And we have to like solve for x or solve for y, whatever. But we know that x holds a value and y holds a value. So x is a variable and y is a different variable. So we've seen this idea elsewhere, and it's very important in programming languages. And chapter 2 of the book talked about how to form variable names, well-formed variable names. So here's a little formative quiz, meaning just a little practice quiz. You're going to identify the well-formed variable names and discuss why the ill-formed variable names are in fact ill-formed. That is not correct. Okay, so I have 10 statements here. So pause the video and figure out which ones are well-formed and which ones are not. Ready, set, pause. All right, welcome back. Number 1 is totally fine. That is a fine way to assign a value to a variable. Let me just show you. If I were to copy that little bit of code, first equals URL within single quotes, jump over to Python, PyCharm here, go up to View, Tool Windows, Python Console. Once again, View, Tool Windows, Python Console. To open up interactive console down here. And if I paste in what I just copied and click enter, the first piece of evidence that I have that everything went all right is that it didn't throw an error. Okay, if there had been an error, it would have let me know. And another little way to make sure everything worked out fine is if I type first and push enter on the keyboard, it'll tell me what the value of the variable first is. In this case, it's URL. Okay. And this second one is not correct. This is ill-formed. This is not a well-formed variable name. The reason is because you can't start a variable name with a number. Here, 5, right? 5 kids equals expensive. So you can't start a variable name with a number, an Arabic numeral, to be quite exact, in comparison to a Roman numeral. So you can't start variable names with Arabic numerals. Although you can have Arabic numerals, numbers, within a variable name as long as it's not the first character. So this number 7 here is fine. And you can check these. You can check these on your own if you just copy the variable that I have here in my lesson plan in lesson 1.3 and push enter. So for example, when I tried 5 kids equals awesome up here, it errored out. It said, no, syntax, that's wrong. But if I try the house is 2 equals expensive, I will put that into my console, paste it, enter, and it didn't throw an error. And once again, if I just want to double check, it has expensive as the value of the variable house is 2. Indeed, it does. Okay. Number 3 and number 4 are totally fine as well. You'll sometimes see variable names that have more than one word, separating the words with an underscore, like I have here in number 3, your name equals Earl Brown. Or you can see words being identified with a capital letter at the beginning of the words. So your profession, professor. I've heard this referred to as snake case. This way of separating words in a variable name as snake case, I guess, because like a snake slithers on the ground, maybe. I'm not sure. And this right here referred to as camel case, like the humps on a camel. Each word has an uppercase to identify the next word, I think. So those are totally fine. Number 5 here, cash with the $ as the S equals a million, I think that is. That is not all right. That would error out. The reason is because you can't have anything but alphanumeric characters as variable names. So if I try that, it's going to say, yeah, no, that's a syntax there. You can't do that. So that is a problem. Class is also problematic, but for a different reason. The reason this time, I'll show you if I try that, it's not going to let me do it. It's not going to let me do it. So the problem is here that the word class, that 5-letter word, is a special keyword in Python that you can't use as a variable name. That is also the case with number 9, and equals, what else can I tell you? The word and is another special keyword in Python, so you can't use that as a variable name. And you may ask, well, what are those variable names? In chapter 2 of the book, I'll just click into chapter 2 of the book here. I have it linked to from my lesson plan. Chapter 2, variables, expressions, and statements. Variable names here, right? They talk about that they can contain both letters and numbers, but they can't begin with a number. Okay. But then down here, they talk about keywords, Python keywords. And here is a list of these keywords you can't use as variable names because they have special meaning in Python. So there's class right there, we just saw, and the word and is there as well. Okay. And x equals 2, that's totally fine. And current sentence is totally fine as well. Okay. That's how you make variable names, well-formed variable names in Python. Once again, it's useful to have this chapter open, chapter 2, so that you don't use one of these. It'll let you know. It won't turn out well if you try to use one, but anyway, here they are. Okay, well, let's talk about order of operations a bit. It's also important concept. So let's review that from math. Order of operations in math means that certain things happen before other things happen, right? Certain things are calculated and the result is used with other things around it, but they go in a certain order. So parentheses have the highest precedence, meaning they happen first. Then you get multiplication and division. Then you get addition and subtraction. All right, so here's a math example. The question is, what does 2 times 3 minus 1 return? Well, going by the order of operations, that is multiplication and division go first. We're going to get 2 times 3, right? 6. And then we get addition and subtraction after that. So we get 6 here minus 1, so that should be 5, right? We would get 5 with this statement right here. But if we have parentheses around the 3 minus 1, that would happen first, right? And so we'd do 3 minus 1, that's 2. And then 2 times 2, that's 4. So once again, the parentheses here causes the 3 minus 1 to happen first before it does the multiplication with 2 on the left-hand side. Okay, so in similar fashion, we can use parentheses to cause something to have higher precedence or higher order of being done, of being executed than other things around it. So let's take a look at this practice exercise. What would each of the following statements return? Try them to verify your guesses. So let's just talk through here what would happen. We have a print function. We're just going to print something out to the console. And we have hello plus world times 3. Okay. And once again, multiplication and division happen first, and then addition and subtraction. And so we can't multiply a string by 3, but this is a shorthand for copying. So a string asterisk 3 means it'll copy it 3 times. It'll copy the word 3 times. And addition, the plus sign, means it'll concatenate. That is, combine 2 strings into 1 string. So going back to what we just learned about order of operations, what should this return? Well, it should do this first. I mean, it should do world times, quote unquote, 3 first. That is, it'll do world 3 times. It'll make 3 copies of world. And then after that's done, it'll put hello on the left side of those 3 worlds. That's what should happen here. We can verify that by just copying this little bit of code. Control C on my keyboard, flip over to this, to PyCharm. I'm just in the console there. Control V to paste. There it is, the code. I push enter and I see down here what I get. Yep, I do get that. I get world 3 times, 1, 2, 3. And I get hello once on the left side of that. Okay, let's flip back over to the lesson plan. Here I have parentheses around hello and world. Okay, so this should force this operator, the plus sign, to happen first. So once again, when you have two strings with the plus sign between them, it's just simply going to concatenate them, which means bring them together into one string. So we should have hello world brought together because we have parentheses around those two strings and the plus sign. And then after that's done, it'll make 3 copies. Let's just verify that by just running. I'll just grab this code. Control C on my keyboard, jump over here, Control V. And yep, that's what happened. There it is. Hello world, 1, 2, and 3 times. So first it concatenated those two strings together, then it created 3 copies of that concatenated string. Okay, so that's important with order of operations, that you can force things to happen first by using parentheses around them. That's important. That happens a lot in coding. Okay, so we've seen variables so far. We've seen order of operations, specifically using parentheses to cause certain things to happen first before other things around it happen. Calculations, expressions to be evaluated. Okay, so let's try a little practice here where we use this idea of variables. Okay, it says create a program in a script that asks the user for his or her name with a prompt, look up the input function, and then saves his or her name to a variable, and then prints back to the user a message, a simple message like, well, hello there, name, right? So once you give that a try, see if you can make that work. Once again, you should probably look up the input function by just Googling Python input function, and see how to use it. Okay, so take a few minutes here to try that. Ready, set, pause. All right, welcome back. Let me show you how I'd approach this. To look up a function on the internet, I would just simply type in Python input function. Just search for that on the internet. And here is Python input function from W3 Schools. It's a good website for coding. And here's an example, and it's pretty much asking, it's showing what I asked you to do almost. So the input, it says, ask the user for, that's a little program. Anyway, it takes input from the user, okay? So that's pretty straightforward. And you can save it to a function by putting in the equal sign with a variable name. Excuse me, you can save it to a variable by having a variable name, equal sign, input, and then asking the user for input. So let's try this together. I guess I'll just try it here myself. If I say, I'll just say whatever, your name, use that, your name. And then you, I created a variable name, a well-formed variable name, equal input, open parentheses, open quote. What is your name? Okay. And I'll put a little space after the question mark like that. And then on line 2, I'm going to say print, and then a message here. Well, hello there. And then a space. And then on the right side of that closing, double quote, I'll put a plus sign, and then the variable name that's holding the user's name. Okay, so once again, line 1 is grabbing some input from the user, saving it to the variable, your name. Line 2 is using that variable. It's concatenating with the other string, well, hello there, right, like that. So let's run this script. Save my work, Control S. I'll come up here to run, and this I called my py file chalkboard. You can see right there, it says chalkboard py, where I'm highlighting with my cursor. Come down here to chalkboard and run it. Down here in the console, it says, what is your name? So I click in here with my mouse and I say Earl. Push enter, and it prints out this message. Well, hello there, Earl. So if I ran this again, and I try something else, I'll try, I don't know, Joan. Anyway, there it is. Well, hello there, Joan. So it's taking the input from the user and it's using it later in the script. Okay. I'd like to pause this and look at that code and make it work on your end. That would be a good idea if you need to pause it right now. Pause the video and look at my code and get something like it working on your computer. That'd be a good idea. Okay, so let's jump back here. Oh yeah, let me point out a little something called F strings. In Python 3.6 or later or higher, you can do something called string interpolation very easily. So let me show you that. So in addition to using the concatenating, the plus sign to concatenate strings together, you can do what's called an F string. So let me create a new line 3 there. I'll say, well, howdy, their partner. And then you put in the variable name. And I forgot to put an F at the beginning of the string. So right at the very beginning of the string, before the opening double quote, you put an F. And then you have your string. And right within the quotes, double quote, right, within the set of double quotes, I just put in my variable name between curly braces on line number 3. And that should have the same effect as using the plus sign outside of the double quotes. So let me save my work, Control S, gonna run the script again, use the keyboard shortcut there. What is your name? Well, I'll just, whatever, Lucia. There we go. So I have the same effect. Lucia was put in right there with the second print statement there. Those are called F strings. If that's confusing to you, just stick with the plus sign. The plus sign has been tried and true since the beginning of Python. So just stick with that if this F string thing was confusing. Okay. All right. Let's try another little activity here. Find a short Mad Lib online and create a program that asks the user for the nouns, adjectives, etc., that are needed to complete the story. And then print out the story once the user has supplied all the required fields. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll just do a simple Mad Libs. I'll do printable, Mad Libs printable. Madlibs.com printables. Okay, I'll click on that. And I'm just trying to find one of the stories. If you don't know what Mad Libs are, they're kind of like silly stories. I'll show you an example here. This one's about vacations. So you ask a person for the types of words that have blanks here. So you ask for an adjective, another adjective, a noun, etc., without telling the other person what the story is before you ask for those words. So you just say, hey, give me an adjective. Okay, good. Give me another adjective. Okay, good. Give me a noun. Okay. And then you supply, you put in those nouns and adjectives in these spaces, and then you read the story. And it's kind of funny because it's totally decontextualized and weird. So let me just grab, I'll just grab a few lines here. I'll just grab 3 lines here just to make it quick here, just to get the idea across what I'm trying to show here. Okay, so once again, what we're doing is we're grabbing a Mad Lib, and we need to get some input from the user with the input function that we saw a minute ago. And then we need to concatenate the string and put in the adjectives and nouns and other words into the story. So let me erase, I'll just erase all that. Okay, so I need to make this into a string. Right now, there aren't double quotes around it, so I need to make this a double quoted thing. And you can see that they're on different lines. I have line 2, line 3, line 4. I want them on the same line. So I'm just going to take a second here to put these on to one line. Okay, so I'm down over here like this. Okay, so now they're on one line. By the way, if PyCharm doesn't automatically word wrap, like if it just keeps going out to the right and you have to scroll to the right to see all the story, you could change that in the preferences of PyCharm. For example, in the Mac, you'll be PyCharm preferences, editor on the left-hand navigation menu, general. And then down here, it says soft wrap files, and you may need to add Python files. The default, I think, for PyCharm is something like this. In the soft wrap files field, what you do is put semicolon *.py and say okay, and it'll soft wrap the file so it'll wrap down. Okay, so I only need 2 nouns. Let me jump back over to the where was it? Sorry, Zoom was covering up my stuff here. Okay, here we are. Let me get things put in order real quick. Okay. So here's the story. I just need I need 2 adjectives and 2 nouns for this short little demo. Okay. So what I'm going to do over here, and I'm going to ask for the user for some input. And I'm going to say, please give me a noun. I'll make a space after that. But I need to save it to a variable, right? So I'll jump back to the beginning of the line and do noun1 equals. So I got 1 noun coming in. I'll put noun2. Once again, you can use numbers, but as long as they're not at the beginning of the variable name. Input, I'll just say another noun, please. Okay. And then I need 2 adjectives. Oops, I did the adjectives. Okay, I did the nouns first. I need adjectives. Doesn't matter what order you pull them in, but I'll just keep in the same order that it's in the story. So I'll say input. Please give me an adjective. That adjective or adj2 equals input. I'll say another adjective, please, like that. Okay. Right. So here it is useful to be able to put numbers in your variable name, so I can distinguish adjective 1 from adjective 2, noun 1 from noun 2. Okay. So at this point, I'm just going to create a big long string. I'm going to say story equals this big long string, but I need to break up the string where I need to put in the adjectives and the nouns. So I'm going to go ahead and put a double quote to end the beginning double quote, right? So here I have a beginning, an opening double quote, and here's an ending one. I just put in myself. I need to do plus, and then I'm going to put in the first adjective, adj1, another plus, and then I need to start a double quote. I need to put in an opening double quote. Let me get rid of that underscore. I don't really need an underscore there. It's not going to help us out. So let me get rid of that underscore like that. Okay, then I'm going to go down to the next blank and put a closing double quote. I'm closing the double quote that was opened right there, right? And then I need to put a plus sign. I got another adjective, adjective 2, plus. Now I'm going to open up the quote again, get rid of that underscore there. So now I got another string here. It starts here and goes all the way down to here. I'll go ahead and close that. Plus noun 1 plus open double quote, get rid of that. Okay. Do the same thing over here. And that quote plus noun 2. And we can go ahead and do a plus open quote, get rid of that underscore and have a period. And then we need to put another double quote on the right. So what we're doing here is we have a bunch of strings. We have one string right here. A vacation is when you take a trip to some. That's the first string. Then we use the plus sign to concatenate that first string with the string that the user gives us that we saved as the variable adj1 for adjective 1. And then we use the plus sign to concatenate all of that with the next little string, which is place with your, okay? And then we have a plus sign again. We're going to add all of that to the next adjective, adj2, plus then the next string, etc. So we're just concatenating a bunch of strings together, okay? So that's what line 6 does. And then we'll jump down here and we'll say back to the user, here's your silly story. And then I'll create a new line below that, another print statement, and I'll just print out story. Okay, so the logic is we have 4 lines that get information from the user and saves each word as a separate variable. Line 6 here concatenates all the strings together into the story. Line 8 just says, here's your story. And then line 9 actually prints the story that is created up here on 6, okay? So let's give this a try. I'm gonna do Control S on my keyboard. I'm gonna run this with the shortcut, keyboard shortcut. You can see up on the run menu, I'm doing this shortcut on my Mac. Okay, and then I click the file name. Okay, so it says, give me an adjective. I'll say tall. Another adjective, please. How about fast? Give me a noun. I don't know, I'm looking at a computer right now, so computer. Another noun, how about justice? Okay, and it does all the work quickly. Here's your silly story. A vacation is when you take a trip to some tall, there's the noun or the adjective I supplied, tall place with your, here's the second adjective, your fast family. Usually you go to some place that is near a computer or up on justice, right? Just silly nonsense words because I didn't have any context. Anyway, if you guys have ever done Mad Libs, you can see how you can use a computer program to do it as well. The point of this exercise was simply to learn about getting input from the user, saving it as a variable, and then using that variable later somehow in the program. That was pretty much it, as well as concatenating strings a bit with the plus sign. Okay, so if you would like to pause the video now and take a look at my script there, this would be a good idea if you're new and you don't know, you didn't quite follow everything I was doing, you couldn't get it as I was doing it, you might want to pause the video and get something working on your end. Okay, go ahead and pause if you'd like to do so. Okay, let's jump back to the lesson plan. All right, so good. We've looked at variables quite a bit now. One last little topic about this lesson 1.3, is our comments in scripts. Comments make the logic of a computer code more easily understood by humans, whether it's other people looking at your code or you as your later self, that is at some point in the future, you may look back at your code that you've written previously and you may not remember off the top of your head why this line's here or what this block of code is doing. So it's really helpful to put comments in your code. There are a couple ways to do it. You can put a comment on the line before a line that's executed by the Python, or you can do it at the end of the line. In either case, you have to have a hashtag or a pound sign or a number sign. I'll just go hashtag, say hashtag at the beginning of the comment. You can also, there's a third way you can do it. When we look at how to create your own function, you can do what's called a doc string to identify what the function does, and it uses comments in a different way. It's 3 single or 3 double quotes to begin and end a block of comments. But for now, we'll just use the more simple way of using a hashtag. There's also a keyword shortcut I'll show you in a second. So here's a practice exercise. This is modify your program that we just wrote about the Mad Libs, okay? And put in some comments that describe what each line of your code does, or each block, depends. And then rerun the program in order to verify that the interpreter doesn't do anything with those comments. Python ignores those comments. They're just simply for the human readers. Okay, so let's jump back over to PyCharm. Let me just put some comments in here. I'm just gonna create some new lines above the top line there. And I'll just put a hashtag and say Python script to have some fun with a silly Mad Lib. Okay. Then this block of code gets information. So I'll say get information from user. Usually, by the way, it's convention to use the command form of verbs like get information, not gets. But that's just a convention. It's simply what is often done. It doesn't matter. You can have gets here if you like, but it's usually a command form there. Here, this line, put all strings together. Fancy word is concatenate strings. Okay. The technical term is concatenate. And then these two lines down here, I'll just say print story out to the user. Okay. So just to show you that the interpreter is not, that Python's not going to care about these. It's not going to do anything with these commented these comments. I will show you. I'll save my work, Control S. I'll run it again, and just do a quick little Mad Lib again. Give me an adjective. I'll say long. Another adjective, please. Gray. It's gray outside right now. Give me a noun, microphone sitting right in front of me, about a foot from my mouth, over to this side. Another noun, please. I don't know. I'm not sure what to put here. I'll just put destruction. So there it is. There it is again. We have long put in there, gray put in there. And Python didn't care about the comments. They were just for the human readers of that code. Okay, so what we see in this lesson, once again, to review, are variables, how to form them. We've seen order of operations, and specifically the fact that parentheses will make things happen first or happen before other things. We did a little fun Mad Lib thing, and we just saw comments in scripts. Okay, so that is lesson 1.3. See you next time.